having me, mate.
How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, good, buddy. Good, buddy. So, Doug, just to let everybody know where we are.
Andy is in Los Angeles. I'm in Phoenix, and Ben is in Adelaide, South Australia. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's correct, mate.
Well, thanks, Doug, for introducing us and back on Tales from the Rails again. And Ben, as we're having a little chat before we came on, it's been me and your dad, who was a locomotive engineman. We interviewed him a few weeks back. Have been friends for a long time. Obviously, not quite as close because I'm living in the States and communication, life gets you carried away a little bit. But the last time you and me met each other, I think you were 2 foot high and you were riding a BMX bike around a track with my son who was about the same height.
Yeah. I'm not much higher.
How do you see out the window driving the loco, mate? Little high
that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to sit on my tacker box.
That's funny. Hey, so look, Doug, lead off with a couple of questions before I jump in with some, because obviously knowing Ben's dad and Ben from many, many years ago.
So, Ben, you're in the same industry as your dad, who has known Andy for many years. What's it like being in that industry with him in the railway?
I think I'd grown up listening to my dad tell stories of the job with Andy and many other drivers, and as I must admit, as a young man, I didn't consider joining the railways. But when I decided to do so, and I was lucky enough to get a job to work in the same depot as my dad was, I guess there's some sort of not a reputation to behold, but make sure that I didn't let my dad down. But certainly it's an honour to have worked with him in the same depot, although we didn't drive together. But yeah, it was a good thing. I was honoured to be there with him. Yeah,
that's pretty cool, eh? I think Doug will remember we had a driver on a few weeks ago. I think it was Matt from up in New South Wales. Don't quote me on that. I can't. We've had quite a few on, but he said he posted on Instagram a few weeks ago. He said, "How cool is it?" He goes, "I remember living at Tailem Bend, watching his grandfather drive these big locos." And he said, "Here I am sitting on the same loco that my grandfather drove, and now I'm a driver." And I went, "Yeah, that's pretty special. Yeah, that's pretty special."
I would have loved to have spent time on the engine with Dad, maybe do a couple of trips, but his career as a driver by that stage had finished. So I sort of took over from then, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But to know that all the places that I go to, whether they be sidings or the locomotives we operate, like he was, I've sort of stepped into his shoes, if you like.
So yeah, he's had generations in the railway. So I think it's pretty special when like your dad's there, and then his dad was there, and someone else. I think that's really pretty cool, because you start talking about stories of the job, and you're talking like, oh man, so many years of what it was like back in the steam days to when his dad was driving to where he is now, and when me and your dad were in the railways. And you did mention it is like universes apart now of how to get in the job, what the job's like. It's all just changed so much. Can you share a little bit about that, like what the big difference is from since you've been in, knowing what it was like with your dad to where it is now?
I think it's the job now is heavily laden with procedures and rules to follow, and you're made awfully accountable for any mistakes outside of those procedures, whereas perhaps back in your day, Andy, you might have got away with a few more things.
Oh, I did. I mean, they did. Not me.
Yeah. Not you, no.
Not me.
So that's certainly heavily laden with rules and procedures. But, I mean, obviously driving standards don't change and all those sort of things. I mean, locomotives develop over the years. But certainly on a procedure level and rule changes within, an organisation, not rail rules, but those things have changed plenty over the years, I'd imagine.
And I think too, like, it's like, like there's derailments or, little things happened, mistakes that were human error. I think they take it a lot more seriously now with the private businesses than what, like, they did back then in the when the railways were owned by the government. You could get away. Not saying people try to get away with things at all, but the punishment wasn't anything severe.
Yeah. Well, these days, you're very lucky to keep your job.
Wow.
If you made a mistake, and they'll scrutinise the incident, and if often you're lucky to keep your job. Let's just say.
Well, I guess too, because it's a business for them, and if you've caused an accident that literally has cost them millions of dollars, millions with loco damage, freight damage, they're going to go, well, we trained you and you didn't stick to procedure, so goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one, because human error is always there somewhere. I mean, hopefully it's not in those areas, but
and I'm not sure that that's the right way to go about keeping people. I think managers need to take a step back perhaps and look at the overall picture and manage a person better than just sack them. I don't think that's the correct outcome. I'm sure there are plenty of people that do the wrong thing that maybe they've had one more than enough chance to rectify their behaviour at work, but often I don't think that's probably the right way to go about it.
I agree. Sorry, Doug, go on, mate.
You also have to consider, however, that when you're driving a train, it's not just the damage to the vehicles that they're thinking about. It's the fact that by making your error, you might have put others at risk as well, especially people riding the train.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, all these things are taken into account. There's no doubt about that. But I still don't think that, if someone has an incident that they lose their job, depending on the demand for staff, which is sometimes the case. But but you're dead right.
And is the training I thought our training was quite intense back in the day. Like we did a lot of months and months of safe working rules. Like I started off in Dynon, in North Melbourne in Victoria when I was 17. And that was pretty quick. It was a few weeks of safe working, a little bit of the engine, and then nothing of the engine. So safe working, straight out onto the shunter, and then you'd spend probably 6-7 months there. Then you go onto the main line. Then you had the opportunity to go and do your air brake, and then you'd become fireman Q, which was fireman qualified to drive. That was up to you if you wanted to. But Adelaide, I thought, man, they really got into the rules back then. With engine working and all that stuff. What's it like nowadays?
Still very much concentration on the network rules, because obviously the network is owned by a private business, if you like. It's not so we're just a freight forwarder, so all the infrastructure is owned by someone else. So the rules that govern all of that, which I guess probably haven't changed a lot since you did them. So it's there's a lot of concentration on that. There is a little bit on the locomotives, but I'd imagine that you would have done your air brake, learning all about triple valves and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Not much of that goes on anymore. It's more of an operational side of things. So once you've done all your schoolwork, you might, I think from memory, I did about 6 or 7 weeks in the yard as a shunter and train examining, and then went on to the locomotive as a second man. And then, you had opportunities to drive from that point. So it wasn't an extended transition, if you like. It was fairly quick. I think they like to get you through and on the main line these days to utilise your best.
And I've heard you just like nowadays you don't have to. I mean, you got to know things. Obviously, you will, but they say now it's just a call like a helpline. Hey, something's happened, broken down. What do I do?
That's right. Yeah. There is a lot of that. I did spend a bit of time. For nearly 8 years, I was running to Perth and back as a part of a relay crew.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you on the Nullarbor, mate, there's no help.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
it's only God help me.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. A few Hail Marys and Our Father.
Yeah.
But so you had to have some mechanical knowledge. I mean, these days, a lot of the locos are, they're, very reliable. But you still had to have some mechanical knowledge because there's no assistance and there's no, no one to come and help you within 3 days sort of thing. It's a long drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Doug, I've got some questions, but go for it, mate, before I ask them.
Okay, so Ben, how did you get trained in the industry of becoming a train driver?